The following footage is certified PG. Pretty great.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Breakfast Takes. I'm your host today with Breakfast Takes, the mayor, Donnie Wise, and with me I have a special guest, co-host today, Food and Fitted's Phil Rabin. How you doing this morning, Phil?
Doing good. People are thinking, boy, Ed's put on some weight. No. Substitute host this morning.
Well, I'm glad you could hop on here and chat it up with me for about an hour. So we'll get into a lot of different things. Ed's probably still asleep right now. I know he had a late game down in Puerto Rico. That game last night had a second rain delay. I think it was 4 outs to go. They got 2 out. Canada got 2 outs top of the ninth inning. And anyway, so him and Paul and Amy and Ranger Amy and Darla, Mia, they were getting soaked. I don't know if even the girls even stayed the whole time, but yeah, that was a crazy game down there. So he probably was out late, sleeping in this morning. Deserved rest. So glad to have you chatting it up with me.
Yeah, I was like, okay, we got the time change. Ed just wanted to sleep in, so he's like, let's go to Puerto Rico,
Exactly. Get away from everything here. I told him, I said, it's funny. Everything he's posted online the last 2 days has been beautiful, sunny. They've been on the beach, him and Paul throwing baseball on the beach, and then they go to the game and it's pouring rain. And I think they said there's only been 2 rainouts in the history of the World Baseball Classic, and this was like the third. They had 2 rain delays last night, and they'd only had 2 previous rain delays. Not any rainout, excuse me. 2 previous rain delays in the history of the tournament. So they're down there making history in all kinds of ways.
Rain delays, where you just have to suffer through them. You find a dry place to hang out, and you just wait.
Yep, just wait and hope for the best. So what you been up to lately? Tell me a little bit about how you things you got going on. I know you've been doing a lot with college, excuse me. See, it feels like it's 5 o'clock, not 6 o'clock to me this morning with this time change. It's really mixed me up. With Midland Valley, with the boys basketball and stuff. I know you've been doing a lot with that, and that's wrapping up, and baseball's getting started here soon. So tell everybody a little bit about what you got going on with Midland Valley.
Well, we concluded basketball season. Our girls concluded it at they won their first round. They got a first round home game and won, and went to South Florence, and South Florence was just too good. I think South Florence probably made it, I think, to the lower state finals. But I went there and to watch them, and found a Western Sizzlin' in Florence. And they also had a Quincy's. So if you're a South Carolina person, it was like going into a time warp. So I'm going into a Western Sizzler, sitting down in a steakhouse, and the ice cream machine was broken. So I was like, yeah, this is like being back in the 80s. And our boys team had a good season, but they also went out early as well. So we're all geared up for spring sports now. That got started last weekend. Our baseball team, I think, got a good start, like 3-1. Last weekend, we participated in a tournament, weekend kind of round robin tournament at White Knoll High School, and lost to Irmo and beat Camden and I think White Knoll and one other team. So we exhibited ourselves pretty good. I went up there to that, and here's a warning in following the GPS. I followed the GPS. I got the White Knoll. It told me to turn right here. Okay, and I can see the light poles on the other side of the school, but it says turn right here, so I turn right here. And I wind up going on a little rocky gravel road behind the school and behind all the everything, and a single lane, and I come up behind the baseball field. I'm at the baseball field, but I'm behind it, and there's no parking lot, so I clearly kind of went the wrong way. But the gate was open. So I parked it right there and hoped no foul balls went too far right, and just kind of parked there and walked on in. So,
wow, you found the maintenance road. I'm surprised the GPS would take you down the maintenance road.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
Nobody told me to move, and I had a coach's pass, so it wasn't like I was, trying to cheat them out of $6.
Right.
But yeah, I came in there and watched us play, and then right out there concession stand. High school concession stands can be hit or miss. Uh, some of them, especially during baseball season, they kind of go more all out during football season. But baseball can be just plain basics or not. And so I got a plain hot dog and one with chili. And one of our baseball players is like, "Why'd you get a plain one?" I said, "Well, in case I don't like their chili." And so
Right.
yeah, chili dog connoisseurs know what I mean. You can. So it was
Yeah.
pretty good. So, like I said, now I think if you have a school that ever plays Strom Thurmond in baseball, you want to go because their concession stand during baseball season, they have fried bologna sandwiches, and they obviously go to a butcher somewhere and get them cut thick. And their
Okay.
chili dogs are probably the best I've had in high school baseball. So
Cool. Hey, Leila. Good to have you this morning. Yeah, that's the thing about high school concessions. They normally are just very basic. Not a lot of them even have like grilled items like that sometimes, or at least I don't remember. Maybe they're a lot better now than they used to be. But the one thing I was going to ask you real quick, what classification is Midland Valley, by the way?
we're 4A. So
4A.
we're
Okay. All
yeah.
right. You're up there
So
with it. Okay. I wasn't sure. I don't know why I was thinking maybe they were lower than like the 4A with Irmo and some others, but okay, good.
we
Uh,
play schools like Brooklyn, Casey, Airport, Chapin. They've been
okay.
in our region before. Eau Claire, Keenan used to be in our region, so those are Columbia schools you would know.
Yeah.
North Augusta is in our region. South Aiken. Yeah,
Yeah, a lot of that's changed since I was obviously in high school many moons ago. There were a lot of those schools. I think the Columbia High was in with Keenan, C.A. Johnson, A.C. Flora, Dreer, South Aiken. Those were the furthest schools we had in our group, but we were all 3A at the time, and I know Columbia High's dropped tremendously. I think they're maybe 1A or 2A now.
they've reorganized it. It used to be just 4A and down,
Yeah,
and Midland Valley was 3A during that time period. But when they created the 5A classification, and I think they got two levels of 5A. So yeah, your Spring Valleys and your Dormans and Spartanburgs, they're always at the top. They're the biggest ones,
yeah.
and then below that is going to be your airports and Midland Valleys.
Yeah, I remember when my not long before my oldest son started at Lexington High School. I think he might have still been in middle school, or it's probably older than that. Lexington, they added uh, oh, what was the one they added? River Bluff. They
Yeah,
added River
Lexington,
Bluff
River Bluff.
to split Lexington because they were getting so big. I mean, they had been big before when they created White Knoll many years ago, and kind of split off that side of Lexington. But then, yeah, it's just been kind of crazy the growth out here in Lexington, and it's just amazing to me how they'll swap around like that.
Yeah, every time we play River Bluff or Lexington, I just like to look around and go, "Wow, it's nice to have money." What's
Well,
that thing? That's a
it
digital
is.
scoreboard. Woo, doggy,
Exactly. It's really crazy some of the facilities the schools have. I know Lexington High School just put in a turf football field last year. Because I remember seeing them dig up all that grass and put turf down. Now you ride by there and it's just like looking over at this beautiful green carpet. So and they were
Yeah,
one of the last ones I think in this area to do that because some of the others had already done it years ago.
we finally got it, and Aiken has got it, so it's finally come to Aiken County, and we finally got a new scoreboard a few years ago. So we kind of updated recently, but yeah, I remember Airport had um, turf long before we did,
Okay.
and when they put it in, other schools complained, and so everybody got it in that school district that Airport and Brooklyn Casey are in, and then Brooklyn Casey got a whole new stadium uh,
Yeah.
that's nice now, as opposed to the little cage that they used to play in.
Yeah, I remember going to that. Rhonda's cousin Jill went to Brooklyn Casey High School, and we would go over to some games every once in a while over there. And Yeah, that the one field they had over on the backside of the school, that was a tiny little old school stadium there. Not a huge bleachers or anything right up against the side of the school and all that. So yeah, all these new stadiums, I mean, I get it for the turf. The turf stuff is helps with maintenance. I mean, it's a good upfront cost, but once you got it in and maintain it, it's a whole lot better than having to cut grass all the time to keep that going and the water.
I know. Part of me though misses muddy uniforms. Coaches don't miss washing them, but still, you know.
I
I
know it does kind of take away from that old school feel of just getting out there and getting dirty and all that, you know?
Farman played at Wofford one time, and it had been raining all week long. And Wofford, I think at the time, let Dorman use their field on Friday night. So Dorman had already turned it up, and then Furman shows up, and Furman. Up until recently, they only wore all whites on the road, so it was fun to see somebody come in and hadn't played yet. It was totally obvious. It's
Right.
like new
Hey,
guy.
new guy, been standing on the sideline. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I've noticed a lot of turf going in with baseball fields in the last few years too, and I don't know how I feel about it. I get it. I understand the reason behind it in a lot of cases. The Blowfish are actually going to have a brand new all turf field, infield, outfield, the whole 9 yards. I mean, even the mound's turf. I was a little disappointed that the mound was still turf or was also turf, but
Oh, that's
uh,
interesting.
yeah. So I mean, it's just like I saw some pictures of it, and I was like, hmm. So they're basically pitching on a carpeted mound. I mean, they can't really. It's funny because you're so used to pitchers like digging their cleats in and creating a little hole there. It's like, wonder how that's going to work on this turf because they're not going to really be able to dig in there, and they're not going to like them digging their cleats into that too much either. So, but it
Well,
looks like the strip right there where the rubber is all like a separate piece. So I guess they could change that out more often.
the Blowfish are independent, right? So they're not.
Well, they're
There's
in the
no.
CPL, yeah. So
So
a lot
okay,
of several of the CPL teams have put in turf fields.
I've only went to one game ballpark that had turf, but it was a minor league Eugene Emeralds out in Eugene, Oregon,
Right.
and they used the University of Oregon's field,
Yep.
and they had turf, but the mound was dirt, and around home plate was dirt because I saw them put it up after the game. They came out there and scooped it up,
Right.
And I think they put something over the mound, but they scooped up the dirt. They had a little wheelbarrow and they got the dirt, but they had dirt all around home plate, I guess, so the batters could dig in. And the mound was dirt, but everything and the turf for the base pass was dirt colored, but you could tell it was still turf.
Right.
And you had the University of Oregon O out there in center field. But yeah, they still had dirt on the mound and at home plate. So
Yeah, and that's how I wish it would be. Is like I noticed that in Puerto Rico, like we were talking about earlier, watching that game last night with the head down there. All of the cutouts around first, second, and third, and home were still dirt. So if they're sliding into a bag, they're actually sliding on dirt. But the fielding area is just brown turf, so it looks like dirt. It kind of blends in, but when you get to the bags, you're not having to slide on carpet. I don't know how that would feel, but I guess these kids get used to it these days. It's just weird to me that you would be running around sliding on turf and everything. So hopefully, everybody won't do it, but I think there's just a movement towards that from a maintenance standpoint for most people. And so I don't know that we're seeing the end. I think it's just the beginning. Actually, we're not anywhere close to the end of seeing turf going in everywhere.
no, with inflation and everything costing more, yeah, everybody's looking for a way to cut cost. So
Yep. Yeah, and again, like I said, it's just weird to me to see that, but I imagine it helps them with everything cost wise and maintenance wise. So I know Clemson put in turf in the foul territory a few years ago. The field's still grass, but they made sure the area where all the players were constantly moving around and everything in the foul territory was all nice turf, and that helps a little bit with that, not having to maintain that off the field. And they can just tell everybody, don't walk on the grass. They know what part not to walk on.
And don't mess with our flagpoles, Donnie. Jeez, those are expensive. All right.
Exactly. That was a crazy story about those people not wanting us to use a pole to reach under and get a foul ball. It's like, really? How am I going to mess up a metal pole with tape on it? Come on. These kids need to learn how to do stuff like we did. We would make sticks into guns and play cowboys and Indians, and they're like, oh, we can't do that. So anyway, I'm not going to get into all that kind of stuff though. Stick to sports.
Right.
Oh, so let's talk a little bit about the SoCon tournament and your Furman Paladins here.
Yep. They beat UNC Greensboro last night. Pretty kind of even contest. And unfortunately, they got to face the number 1 seed East Tennessee tonight. And they've lost to twice during the regular season. So
Wow.
they got a tough. And East Tennessee State almost got upset. Western Carolina, if they'd hit their free throws down at the end, could have forced overtime, but they missed them.
Right. Yeah. I'll be honest. I haven't followed this tournament since none of my teams are in it, and so I started looking back, and I saw Saturday it looked like Western Carolina, they took down Mercer 77-73, and Furman took down Samford 86-81. A couple of good games on Saturday there to get these guys moving forward, and then like you said, East Tennessee then took out Western Carolina to advance. So
I have not been to a Furman game this season, and every time I attempt to try to make a home game, something came up to thwart it, and I'm disappointed because they did a major renovation of their basketball arena this year, so I never got a chance to check it out.
right.
When they built Timmons Arena originally, Furman prides itself on its academics and trying to be they turn out they're kind of the safety school. If you can't get to an Ivy League school, you got a lot of people come down south and go to Furman if they can't get into Princeton or Harvard. And so when they built the arena originally, it was like, we don't want to spend this money on a basketball arena, And so they made it multi-purpose, and it just was terrible. The sidelines were terrible. They had a stage, and stuff, and it looked like you're getting ready to watch a high school play.
Oh wow.
And so finally they spent the money to renovate it. And so you got the seating is like you would all around seating like you would expect in a basketball arena. And I couldn't make it up to see it. But I made sure to watch them last night after, I got in from the Carolina women's game. I watched Furman yesterday. I was at home hanging out with my parents, but Saturday I went to South Carolina. But yeah, so I got to find a reason to get over to Furman and sneak in the arena and just walk around.
Yeah, I haven't been to a Clemson game in many, many years. By the way, good morning, Emma. Glad to have you here. Like and subscribe, certainly, and keep up with us. We're here every Monday morning at 6 a.m. for an hour of sports talk for North and South Carolina teams. And we have several other shows. I'll mention those later at the end, but several other shows to follow. Once you subscribe, you'll see all of that. Little John.
There's been a team called Tottenham. Watch tonight. Okay, it'll get mentioned. I guarantee it'll get mentioned. All right.
Exactly. So last time I was at Little John was many, many years ago, and they've done a ton of renovations since. I mean, they've kept the core of it pretty much the same, but when you look at it from the outside now, it doesn't look anything like what would look like when I was there. Tons and tons of renovations around the outside, and I know they've done stuff within the arena itself, but just looking at it on TV, you don't notice it as much. But it seems like I remember seeing that Furman was kind of like that. It was kind of like a one-sided or something, like you said, back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're set up to watch a high school play.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about the women's basketball team, South Carolina getting upset. I mean, that's your team, and people don't really know this. That at times you're my arch nemesis when it comes to South Carolina Clemson. But not today.
I got 3 degrees from 3 different schools, so I get confused at times. But yeah, I got my bachelor's at the College of Charleston. Their men's team got eliminated yesterday by Towson in that conference tournament up in Washington D.C. And then I got a master's at Furman. And my parents went to Furman, so I grew up watching Furman football. But then I went off to college Charleston for my bachelor's, and my last master's is from South Carolina. And so, growing up with two Furman parents in the shadow of Clemson, I kind of, always kind of resented that. Didn't really understand. Well, yeah, they're going to get more coverage because they're a bigger school. I was like, no.
Right.
So I like to say football season, I'm a Furman Paladin. Basketball season, College of Charleston comes number one. Baseball season, I put Carolina first. So I try to give each school their due.
Well, South Carolina baseball's been struggling a little bit lately. I think they did okay this weekend, but they've had some trials and tribulations, not just the rivalry games. They've had a few other close ones with some and a loss with some of these smaller schools.
Well, I watched the Lady Gamecocks Sunday, but I went Saturday at the tournament's being held in Greenville. Furman's men's tournament's up in Asheville. Southern Conference did up there. They tried it in Greenville one year, and I went, and I thought that was awesome because even though Asheville's only another hour away, and I guess they just didn't think they sold enough tickets, so they went back to Asheville. And but the Southern Conference women's tournament has done very good the Southeastern Conference women's basketball tournament has done very good in Greenville because Dawn Staley and the Gamecocks are doing so well. And they were sold out Saturday when I went. It looked like they were sold out again Sunday.
Yep.
A lot of people there. I saw people wearing outfits from the variety of the schools that were playing. So one person walking around in a UNC outfit. So I was like, Greensboro. That's Greensboro, ma'am. Okay.
They went to the wrong.
There's a Greenville. But it was neat. They had the concession stand items have improved there at Bon Secours. I remember when it was a Bilo Arena and you kind of just got the basics, but they put concession stand items assigned to each school. So somebody put some thought into it. You had the cocky chicken sandwich, which was a fried chicken sandwich with jalapeno brine. And then they put some pimento cheese on top of it. You had the Texas A&M tachos, so tater tots with all the stuff you would put on nachos.
Ooh, that sounds good.
I had some carne asada fries. They weren't assigned to a particular school, but there was another stand that had nachos with included fried gator bites because of Florida.
Anytime, like we said before the show, anytime Florida's involved, you got to have some kind of gate or something.
Yeah, so I saw hot dogs named after Auburn or Texas. So Texas, anything, it had brisket. So you got to have brisket with Texas. So they turn their nose up at you if you mention pulled pork or sauce.
Right. Well, I wonder if they had a sandwich or something for Auburn that was technically chicken, but they called it Eagle. Would that be wrong?
Yeah, Auburn's got the identity crisis like Alabama, so I don't know. They can't settle on one mascot.
Right. I don't get that. That always cracks me up that they're the Tigers and then they yell War Eagle and they have an eagle. It's like, what are you? Make up your mind.
Roll Tide and an elephant. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's crazy how, it's just that. I'm not going to talk disparagingly about Alabama people because I got family from Alabama. So.
And
Furman, friends in Alabama. So
Furman's the Paladins. And when my parents went to school at Furman, the Paladins was only the football team. The basketball team had a different, or I think what told me was, I can't remember what school, but they had a different, I think maybe the football team was like the Purple Hurricanes and the basketball team were the Paladins and the baseball team was something else.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And so they had a vote and they decided to change them all to the Paladins. The students voted because at the time, Frank Selvey was a student at Furman and he was a superstar basketball player. I think still has the record for scoring 100 points in a basketball game. And so they had a vote to make them all Paladins. But yeah, I guess that was a kind of common thing. Schools would have the different sports teams that have their own mascot.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I guess that back then it was just you're right. Each team kind of worked independently a little bit, and it wasn't collective in a lot of cases. So okay, we'll go with that. Seems
But
weird to me, but
it was a great game. I knew I bought the ticket ahead of time because I said, okay, I can see the bracket here. It's going to be LSU and South Carolina, and that's going to
right.
be a fight. And so, and sure enough, it was. I mean, LSU even had a 4-point lead at halftime. So it wasn't like I could sit back on my heels and just enjoy the show.
Yeah.
And they fought, and I went on StubHub and bought a ticket. And I'm so glad I spent the money I spent for Saturday, because if I had spent what I spent for Sunday's game, I would just been like, how much is this costing me? Okay,
Right.
nothing's worse than when you splurge, and buy a secondhand ticket and then you just get blown out like you did Sunday. But I went there Saturday. It was packed. They had a bunch of stuff outside. Crush Soda was giving out stuff. Gatorade was giving out stuff. You could line up and shoot basketballs, and it was a great atmosphere outside the stadium. So Greenville does a good job hosting when they host things like that. And it was a ton of people inside, and I found out why I was able to get a ticket.
Oh yeah.
It was the LSU section, so I was initially surrounded. But I was about 12 or 14 rows directly behind the evil queen herself there.
Yeah.
But some Carolina people came in and filled in. So up until about 30 minutes before it started, I had the row to myself, and then it filled in, and some Carolina people came in. I was like, okay. But yeah, it was overwhelmingly Carolina fans Saturday. So, and other coaches have mentioned, I think the Texas coach mentioned that, how, it's like playing a Carolina home game, but they came in ready to play Sunday. I cut the TV on, and I couldn't watch the first few minutes because my parents don't have ESPNU, and the ACC women's game went into overtime.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm having to watch Duke win the ACC women's championship, and I'm looking on my phone and I see Texas is up 10-0. I'm like, hurry up, Duke! What's going on? I mean,
or maybe I don't need to watch this game already.
It's 15-4. Okay, NASCAR's on, isn't it? Okay.
Right.
No, I watched the whole thing. I just sat there and watched the whole thing, thinking, okay, we're gonna get going. We're gonna get going. Okay, we're a second half team. Nope. Texas came into play from the get-go. But the last time this happened, Kentucky beat South Carolina to win the SEC championship. South Carolina won the national championship. So Dawn Staley said that afterwards. She said, this might be what we need, a good loss. Sometimes you get that in basketball. A good loss at the right time can motivate your team going into the postseason.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've always thought that with a lot of things. I mean, I hate a late season football loss, but if you're a team that's rolling and your guys are just like, we can beat anybody, and they kind of take a lot of it for granted, that could definitely be something to kind of kickstart it. It's a little tougher with football because you have so many less games, but I could certainly see that absolutely with baseball, basketball, a lot of other sports that they and especially South Carolina. I mean, they've been so dominant for so long. I mean, there's only a handful of teams in women's basketball that seem to be at the top, and then there's like a huge disparity between like everybody after like 6 or 8. It seems like, I'm sure it's not quite that, but it just seems like that on the surface. But because it used to be back in Pat Summitt day, it was Tennessee, it was UConn, and there was everybody else. And then now it's like South Carolina, UConn, LSU, and a few others, and then everybody else. And so I can see South Carolina women's like, it's kind of taking things for granted, cruising along. They're number 1 seed. And boom, they need a wake-up call.
Yeah, it probably cost them a number 1 seed. They're going to have to go out to Sacramento to play. Texas now gets to play in Fort Worth. Yeah. So the Texas coach said he knew about that, but he wasn't going to tell his players or throw that in their face. So, but they didn't need the extra motivation apparently. But right. So So that benefits Texas. South Carolina, if they're anything lower than number 2 seed, I'd be shocked.
Oh, absolutely. They're too big
Yeah.
of a program to be dropped any more than that. And I could definitely see they don't get the 1 seed because they didn't win the conference, but they'll be fine as a 2 seed. I mean, like I said, they're still one of the premier teams in women's college basketball, so they'll move along pretty good. They should be able to handle most teams until they get towards the end against some of the stronger teams in the women's game. They also when they play LSU, that's one of those games where it's become such a huge rivalry in the SEC, and just with those programs, as you said, the Evil Queen as their coach. Sometimes that can just take a lot out of you too. I mean, you win that game and you're on an emotional high to win that game because it's such a heated rivalry that the next day it's just like you're out of energy.
And that's despite it being the 19th straight win over LSU. You think you beat somebody 18 times in a row, it wouldn't be that big a deal, but it is. So she's kind of, yeah. Mulvaney reminds me of Spurrier. It's like, okay, when Spurrier was at Florida, we hated him. When he came to South Carolina, Spurrier, awesome boy, So
exactly.
So if Mulvaney, if Dawn Smith went off to the WNBA and we took her away, we'd probably suddenly love our antics and outfit. But since she's on another school, we give you the Spurrier Florida treatment.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing you see with other coaches too. I mean, I'm sure not quite the same extent, but like with Urban Meyer when he went from Florida to Ohio State, it was like, okay, I guess Ohio State likes him now. They probably didn't like him when he was with Florida, but there wasn't as big a rivalry thing then. But it's kind of the same thing. I mean, you're like, oh man, we hate that coach. He's down there winning championships. We can't. And then also it's like, hey, what a great coach.
I had a positive opinion of Lane Kiffin until Furman played Ole Miss a couple years ago, and I went down there and they hung 73 on us, and so and tried to get 80. They threw a bomb when they were up 73-0 on 4th down, and it didn't work. And I was like, so I walked out of there saying bad things that I shouldn't say.
Right.
What did we just do? And I don't expect miracles when we come in there, but when you hang 73 on us, or you send the band to play the fight song right next to me, Clemson. So I was like, my opinion, Lane Kiffin took a notch down, but he's probably now. I said LSU just needs to embrace the villain role.
Yeah.
You had Angel Reese, you have Mulvaney, now you got Lane Kiffin. Just embrace it, okay? Come out to the Imperial March from Star Wars, okay? Don't try to say, well, we're just, don't make excuses. Say, okay, yeah, we're the bad guy.
Yeah, I mean to me that would be funny if she had enough of a sense of humor to come out in an all black uniform with that playing against South Carolina or something. That would be hilarious to me.
She did have a black sequined jacket yesterday, and the LSU mascot on the court had a matching jacket. So I never heard too many times where the coach and the mascot coordinate outfits, but
that's pretty funny. Well, and you're talking about the big loss with that. So a couple things I was going to circle back to real quick. You talk about buying the tickets, and you'd hated to spend the money and sit there through a loss like that. That kind of goes back to the time that Rhonda and I went to the Orange Bowl and the West Virginia game for Clemson. We splurged, got really good seats behind the 50-yard line. It's like our first, Clemson's finally in a BCS bowl game, when it was still just BCS bowl games. And then we just get smoked. I did the full face paint that I catch crap about now too, and everything. I was like, all of that to sit there and watch us just get annihilated, like 73-28. So it was just like, man, this was a bummer.
Yeah, it's a home game. You're like, yeah, that's when you see people filing for the exits. or you're like, well, at least I can go back out the tailgate and finish the Bojangles chicken I got, you know.
Right.
But well, yeah, when you go to a destination like that, you're probably not doing the full on tailgate, and you're like, well, I just got to sit here.
I just got to sit here and take it. And I told Rhonda, I said, I'm going to stay here till there's zeros on the clock at this point. I mean, now the story's going to be I stayed till the end, regardless.
Yes,
It's like,
that's your
oh,
chance to earn
really,
your
Bert?
bona fide. Yeah,
Right. You can't be like, oh, yeah, I did all this, but, we left in the third quarter. That just like ruins the story. So you got to stay till the end. And that way that becomes part of the suffrage that you went through. And eventually it all paid off with a couple of national championships. So I can't really complain too much about that. And then speaking of coaches that went to the other side, I remember when Brad Scott was ousted at South Carolina in favor of Lou Holtz, RIP Lou Holtz. He came over to Clemson. It was like, what? We're bringing him in. And so we embraced him at Clemson. He came in, worked with the offensive line, and then Jeff came in and became one of the best coordinator coaches that we had through all of our championship run and everything. And kind of wish they would put him back in charge of some stuff on the offensive side as well. But just the Brad Scott to Clemson seemed kind of weird at the time, because just like, wait a minute, we're bringing in the South Carolina head coach. What's up with that? And South Carolina fans are like, yep, we're done with you.
that was I think my first ever South Carolina home game. Somebody gave me their tickets and their parking pass, and I went to see South Carolina play Tennessee with Brad Scott as coach, and great seat, great parking. Didn't have to on almost right outside the stadium, but I was sick of Rocky Top before the game even started. And I think that was the year maybe they won the national championship, and it was they just were going up and down the field, and we got within field goal range or something like that late in the first half, and Brad Scott decided to kick a field goal, and I'm sitting there going, we're getting stomped. We need a touchdown. And, let's kick a field goal and get 3 points. And I said, so yeah, that everybody around me was like, we got to get rid of this guy.
Yeah, I my take is on South Carolina coaching, at least through that time, was that they were chasing the big name, and they eventually got the big names. My ultimate feeling, again, I don't know in hindsight how this would have ever worked out, but I thought they did Sparky Woods wrong to begin with. When they did bring in Brad Scott, they were kind of chasing something tied to Bowden with Bowden's success, and I get why they did it. I just don't think they gave Sparky enough time to really become a better coach for them. I don't know if he would have or not. I mean, he never really he didn't really do a whole lot at Virginia and other places that he was at afterwards. So maybe they did the right thing. And then Brad Scott came in and only took them so far as well. And then they're like, okay, to me, their administration was always like, well, we've got to have a big name. It's like, you really don't have to have a big name. It gets you short-term success, but it doesn't help you in the long term. And I think that's what they eventually found out and why they're where they're at, because they only got so far with Lou Holtz. And then Spurrier is the same way. You get that little shot of adrenaline, a little bit of hype. But those guys were already kind of on the downside anyway. And eventually for both of them, it was just like they just kind of lost interest after a little while, and it was time to move on. So you're kind of in a cycle of short-term success, not long-term success.
Yeah, I just don't know how high South Carolina can get to. Seems like 2010 was the high point.
Yeah.
I got a lot of grief at school the other day. I wore an old T-shirt, and it was to celebrate 2009 win over Clemson in football. and just to give it back to them, the next day I wore a T-shirt that celebrated our 2010 East Division, whatever, Southeastern Conference East Division.
You're really holding on to that 2009 win, aren't you there, Phil?
Yeah, 2010, where it's like, okay, we got Cam Newton who shouldn't have been playing because Auburn was cheating like crazy, and Steven Garcia decides to invite not one but two young ladies to come back to his hotel room, and uh,
Well,
but there was a while I think where Clemson went after Danny Ford stepped down. It was like, okay, we got to find the next Danny Ford. Okay, this guy talks like Danny Ford, sounds like Danny Ford, and walks like him. Okay, let's hire him. Nope. Okay, let's get this clean guy here out from Baylor. And okay, well, he won with Danny's boys, but he's not winning without Danny's boys. And so,
yeah, that was a weird time for Clemson. Because I was there, Danny Ford's his last season was my senior year at Clemson. And the administration kind of did him wrong. They were trying to find a reason to get rid of him. They kind of made up, and a lot of people don't even, it's like lost in the lore now, but they were trying to make up a lot of stuff about not really him specifically with improprieties, but just improprieties in the program with players, I think, and like people taking tests for them. They have these girls that were supposed to be tutoring that weren't. They were taking tests for him. It became a big thing where they were just trying to smear him to get rid of him. And eventually they decided to get rid of him and bring in Ken Hatfield, who was going to be the choir boy, basically. He was going to clean up the program, give us a better image, less of the good old boy mentality.
no beer at the spring game. That's what I remember people complaining about. No beer at the spring game.
Exactly. It was like, oh no, we're bringing in the reverend, and now it's church time, and we're not going to have any of these honky tonk outlaws anymore. It's going to be cleaned up, and it's like, yeah, let's see where that gets you. And yeah, like you said, he won a little bit with Danny's recruits, but once you cycle through that, he wasn't bringing in the same level of talent. I like Tommy West after him. I think he did better. He just wasn't cut out to be a head coach at the ACC level. He did a lot better when he went to Memphis. And then, of course, we got our Bowden, Terry Bowden. And he did pretty good, but he wasn't his dad either. And he kind of kept a cleaner image. And he only took it – he took it as far as he could. And I'll tell you, when Dabo was hired, everybody's like, who? Like, wait a minute, the wide receiver coach is taking over? Okay, we'll give it a shot. I mean, it was an interim basis that first season. I mean, he took over midway through a season because it was like, okay, we're just not working with Tommy anymore. He had lost the team. And they gave Dabo a shot, and it was like, okay, this guy's on to something. And I used to joke after we were talking about with South Carolina, chasing Lou Holtz and Spurrier, and I kept saying, after Spurrier kind of gave up, South Carolina was trying to figure out what they were going to do, and I think most South Carolina fans will admit Muschamp was just a stupid hire, but they were trying to chase something there, and I told them, y'all just need to find your own Dabo, and I wasn't saying trying to find the carbon copy of him. You just need to find that young coach that needs a start and can build something. And I think that's what, or at least I thought at the time when they hired him, I thought that's what they got out of Shane Beamer. I'm not quite so sure now. We'll have to see. But they got a tough road to hoe anyway in that conference. They always have. I never understood the whole going to the SEC just to be, I hate to say it, not to be too disparaging, but you're at best, you're middle of the pack right now and have been forever. So, I guess they thought that was going to be the difference with Spurrier or Lou Holtz, that would be the one that would make them the next Georgia or Alabama or Florida, but it just didn't happen.
Well, that's when the SEC was dominant. It was, if you could get to the top of the SEC, you've earned a spot in the national championship game. And now that everybody can pay, and you have Indiana winning national championships, it's kind of more even out, I guess you could say.
Absolutely. And good morning, Mike. Finally, Garrell's up. He's got to get up and go to work here soon, I guess. So good to see you this morning. South Carolina needs to temper their expectations. I mean, that's kind of, I don't know if they need to now, but that was definitely something they needed to for years. Is like, wait a minute, you're not, Georgia or whatever. But anyway, I thought they were on the right path with Beamer. I don't know. What's your thought on that? I guess real quick is where do you think you're going with Beamer? Is he going to be the right guy, or is he kind of like no, not the solution at this point?
Middle of the pack might just be, good for us. Let's get a winning record. Let's finish the season with a winning record. Go to a decent bowl game. Hopefully, win it. Uh, I guess I should stay home because I haven't seen them win a bowl game. Every time I've gone in person, they've lost. So, uh,
I had that stigma for a while too. So I
that's why
avoided Clemson bowl games for years.
I go to Furman games more than anything else. I might go to one or two Carolina games. I usually go to those bowl games because I maybe can't get to a Carolina game because I'm going to Furman games, and I like that level. That I still call it 1AA. Our parking space is right behind the stadium. Tailgate, get in and out fast. I don't have to worry about coming up with donating, get $2 million just for a wide receiver.
Yeah.
We've become victim of that too. Mercer has like a $250,000 NIL budget, and Furman still like we're above that. We're an academic school. I'm like, oh yeah, but I like to win a football game or two.
Right.
I mean, if Mercer can win the Southern Conference for $250,000, I mean, Furman certainly can put that money in. It's no shortage of bankers and doctors and lawyers there in the Furman alumni base.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I saw a guy have a heart attack once in the football stand, and there was a cardiologist and a surgeon and two regular doctors on top of him before the EMCs even got up there. So,
I could definitely see that at Furman for sure. I don't know if that happened a lot of other places, but definitely there.
So it's like, yeah, we can put the money towards it if we care, but we got rid of baseball. So that kind of tells you our current leadership at Furman. So.
Absolutely. So, I say comment here, Holly, who y'all talking about? Holly, we talk about North and South Carolina sports on this show every Monday morning, 6 to 7 a.m. So we're just kind of rambling on about football and some of the teams in North and South Carolina.
High school as well, since I teach high school, and I'm the voice of the Mustangs. So
I've got to get more into following the high schools, and with this show, I will do a much better job of that going forward. I hope, especially with the baseball coming up. I want to get to some high school baseball games if I can work one in here on a weekday. Lexington's just right up the street here. Like I'm not even a mile from the high school, I guess, or maybe right at a mile from the high school. So I definitely need to get to some high school baseball games and my kids are grown, so I don't really follow the high school teams as much anymore since I'm not, getting them to school or whatever and keeping up with that.
You got a lot of good programs around where you're at. So big schools that always have good athletic programs. Like I said, I've been at Middle Valley 27 years, and some years everybody in our region is up in Columbia and we're the only one out. Other years, everybody's down here, and there might be one or two schools up in Columbia. I remember one year when it changed, Airport complained because suddenly all the region's schools were down in Aiken County in that area, and Airport was having to hit I-20 all the time. And we're like, yeah, you never complained when it was Midland Valley, BC, Airport, Chapin, and
right.
and we were getting to know I-20 super well. And next year they're redoing it again. And the only Columbia area school in our region is going to be Irmo. So Irmo is going to be getting to know where the fast food and gas stations are on I-20 pretty well.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the McDonald's at, I believe it's exit 55 right there at Lexington. That is a hot spot for teams, buses. You get your little per diem for the kid. Here's $5. And going to McDonald's. In fact, one night we pulled up, and I was driving at the bus at the time, or riding with the team, and we got there and there was a big bus of Strom Thurmond. I think they put their girls and boys and cheerleaders, everybody on one big old bus. And I
Oh,
saw
wow.
them go to the door and it was locked and they couldn't open. They said, no, we're closed. And they get in and they leave. And I was like, wait, I know they're open. We just had a little bus because all we had was the boys team. And I said, wait a second, let me try. Let me go in there. And when the big old Strom Thurmond bus pulled away, I walked up to the thing and the manager unlocked and she said, how many do you have? We just got, 15, 16 people. Okay, come on in. And she let me in. And the whole team thought I had some sort of special connections and got them in because after they'd seen Strom Thurmond turned away. And it was just because there was so many of them. And it was after 10 o'clock. But they all thought, oh, yeah, Raybon got the hookup,
Well, they know you're the food and fitteds guy. You're gonna hook them up with the food.
Yeah. That's why I wore my Biloxi Shuckers hat this week.
Yeah.
Biloxi took some harsh criticisms last week on some of the Herb Brown media shows, and I was like, that is one of my favorite food ballparks for minor league baseball. I mean, I'm called Food and Fitteds, and they have great hats. I think this is one of their alternates right here, and
Right.
their main hat has got a
That's cool.
BF, and the S has the oyster in the shell. And they got a lighthouse one because there's a famous lighthouse there in Biloxi.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love that ballpark. If you go to my Food and Fitteds on Instagram, my avatar is a crawfish and shrimp etouffee in a helmet. Where else can you get that? Nowhere.
Right.
They have fried shrimp po' boys. Now, ironically, I'm not an oyster fan, but they got that there. But jambalaya, etouffee, all that's available at Biloxi, and there's free parking across the street at the casino, so you can take some baseball, eat some etouffee, and then go hit the blackjack table before or after the game. So,
Okay. Well, that alone might get me a trip to Biloxi. Rhonda likes to go to a casino and play some slots every once in a while, so maybe I can swing a trip to Biloxi at some point with her if I can point out that we can hit the casino after the game. So
yeah,
that might be a
Bellevue
fun
or
trip.
something like that.
Yeah.
Now they
Yeah.
recently announced.
Go ahead.
Biloxi recently announced that they have a little garage on their side of the street, but I believe it was just like employees only. You couldn't park there. And they recently announced that you can pay to park there. And I thought, well, the free casino parking is still on the other side of the street and there's a walkway. So I'm like, okay, why am I going to pay to park literally 50 feet closer?
Right. Yeah, I'm with you. I'd take the free parking if I could. So that would definitely be a plus for that. Yeah, I don't know why Biloxi caught some flack. I know Ed's not a big fan of the oysters. I'm not a fan of oysters. You just said you weren't either, but it's not necessarily the oyster of the mascot. The food they have at the stadium is what you're talking about as being so good, and that's the beauty of minor league baseball is all the teams have so many different good food items at the games. It's a lot of fun going out there and checking them all out.
Yeah, and you can make a mini road trip because you got Pensacola down there, and they're pretty good with their seafood and drinks. And Montgomery Biscuits is on your way
Hmm.
to Biloxi.
Yeah, that might have to be a 2027 trip for me is try to get down that area because I do want to get to Pensacola. I want to get to Montgomery. I want to get to Biloxi. So we might have to make a long weekend, half a week trip, something like that, maybe somewhere in the schedule next year and see about that one there. So speaking of hats, I just wanted to point out my friend Dave Ailman, his son's 10 and under travel ball team recently did a little partnership with Baseballism. Uh, so Baseballism had a code. If you used that code, I'm not sure if it's still active or not, but I know it was something they were doing a little while back to raise some funds. And so I shared that story and that code and everything across my social media because I know you and I both know a lot of guys that like Baseballism and order Baseballism stuff. So I was hoping that that might help generate maybe a few extra bucks for them if anybody did order something. But anyway, Dave got me this hat from his son's 10 and under. They're the Lexington Outlaws 10 and under baseball team. I love that logo. It's really cool. It's just an amazing little logo they put on this trucker hat. And I said that definitely will make it into my Trucker Tuesday rotation here soon. So shout out to the Lexington Outlaws and my buddy Dave Ellman. He came to work for me many years ago when I worked in a previous career in the printing industry. And of course, me being a Yankees fan, he shows up working for me wearing a Boston Red Sox hat. So he's still to this day known as Boston Dave to me. When I talk to Rhonda and I mention him, because I got a lot of friends named Dave, David, and I just call him Boston Dave. So she knows who I'm talking about. So he's still Boston Dave.
Looks a little like the Quad City River Bandits logo.
It's very much, it's very cool with the red bandana on there and the holding the baseball out, and it's like a printed design, like a screen printed design on the front of the hat, or maybe like more like an iron-on, I guess, is what it is. But
a lot of those under 10 teams will those little kid teams will use minor league logos for their team, because I'll be somewhere and I'll see somebody wearing a hat, or son and the dad wearing the hat, and I'll go, "Oh, Lake Elsinore," and they just look at me. What? It's the Lake Elsinore Storm hat. Oh, this is his T-ball team logo. I said, okay.
Well, I noticed that the hat the players wear, he's got some pictures of his son in their uniforms. The actual player's hat is a replica of the Orioles O's hat. So it just has the O apostrophe S on it, but it's in the red and black colors instead of the Orioles black and orange. So they did kind of take from that and got the kids' hats done with an O's on it for the Outlaws. So that was pretty cool. I like that. But yeah, this one's very cool. That like the red bandana and everything. Like Ed said, he thought the River Bandits should have stayed with the red bandana, because that's more of a traditional outlaw looking than blue. But the affiliation is what it is. So
I've been to a game there, and that is you should definitely make a Quad City River Bandits trip at least once in your life. It's just got one of the ballparks. Just got a great view. You can sit there, and irrespective of everything else. I think they had maybe a. I don't know if it's the one that had the Ferris wheel in the corner too, but
yeah,
you got the bridge across the river on your right. It's a wonderful thing to just look out and see, while you're watching a baseball game. You got the river and the bridge.
Yeah, he's got us scheduled for the Curve Brim meetup at the end of August, going up to Quad Cities. So hopefully that'll come together. I think that one's pretty much beginning to get solidified for the last weekend of August. And we're going to hit Field of Dreams, Quad Cities, and Cedar Rapids, I think, Colonels that weekend. So hopefully we can keep that going and get up there to see the Quad Cities, because I definitely want to do that after players leave the Fireflies. That's where they head to next. So definitely want to see that.
Yeah, at Cedar Rapids, that sounds good. I've been to Field of Dreams a couple of times.
Yeah.
Definitely get there when they open, and at least in the summertime, before the buses start coming in. There's tour buses that start coming in later in the day, and it really kind of fills up, and you got people all over the field. But if you get there right when they open up, you could find yourself being the only two people out there, and you could be like, "Ed, want to play catch?"
So speaking of minor league baseball, to finish up here this morning, you got any big trips planned? I know you're not working with the Green Jackets this year. I was a little surprised that you didn't stay with that, unless that was just something that, because you tried. I know you tried for the PA job. Did that make a difference?
Well, I got a lot of like major career stuff I'm looking at, so I'm thinking I might go across the river and work in Columbia, or might go get a real job for the year. So I don't quite know what my summer's going to look like yet. So I can't really make a plan. So I've kind of worked out some. If everything works out perfectly, then I was looking at going cross country again, because I haven't been up to the Pacific Northwest in a long time, and I wanted to get back up in there and actually see Vancouver Canadians, and then come down. And I got some baseball buddies in Southern California. So so if the trip I want to take takes place, and I'll get to see Eric, the Peanut Guy, again, and hopefully do a better job at first pitch than I did when he invited me to do it last time, and see Vancouver and add another couple of teams off my list, the Walla Walla Sweets, and
Yep.
then and get down to and visit some friends and down in LA and probably see the Angels again, and then come back through Texas and see my buddies out there, and stop off in Las Vegas and see Val and Rick. So that's the dream. But like I said, I gotta kind of see how everything works out first.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I know that's something that I want to get to is Pacific Northwest. We were hoping to do that a couple of years ago. Had a friend who was getting married in July, right around the 4th. We had a big trip planned, but just the cost of flying and getting up there, it became prohibitive to try and work that trip in with everything else we had that summer, because we were going to hop across the border to Vancouver as well. But yeah, definitely want to get to the Pacific Northwest sometime here in the next few years and see. I want to see Eric's Peanut guy. I've only met him down here when he was coming through the Carolinas, but we didn't get a game together. And so definitely want to get to Tri-Cities and a few of the other teams up in that area for sure.
Oh, Everett, yeah, the Aqua Sox. You got to include the Everett Aqua Sox.
Yep.
Tacoma Rainiers. If you're going to head over to the Tri-Cities and see Eric, you got Spokane. Indians are over there.
Yeah, I think we had planned, if we'd have pulled that trip off, I think I had planned or intended Vancouver, the Mariners, the Rainiers, Everett, and then getting to Tri-Cities was maybe or maybe not, because it was a little out of the way from all of those, because we were going to also be down in the Portland, Vancouver, Washington area, and was looking at a Pickles game while we were down that way because that was where the wedding was going to be, was Portland, Vancouver area in Washington. So yeah, it was going to be that. Tri-Cities was just kind of like, yeah, if we can make it work, we'll make it work. But anyway, that whole trip just got scrapped, and it kind of was hurt that we didn't be able to make that one work, because that was going to be a great trip. But we'll get it in sometime.
Yeah,
So,
Eugene Emeralds is one to hit, and in Oregon, and I think also the Hillsboro Hops.
yeah,
Those are two I went to in Oregon.
cool. Well, we're at the end of the hour here, so I know you've probably got somewhere you've got to be for your tooth that you got to deal with, not school this morning. So
Yeah, I'll just say
maybe the kids would be better than what you're going to go deal with. I don't know.
this is the highlight of my day right here. So it's just going to go down. So yeah, when your choice is extraction or root canal, it's like, oh, okay.
Yep, exactly. So I appreciate you joining me as my co-host today while Ed's in Puerto Rico, and he'll be back next Monday on the show here. And yeah, definitely have to get you back on to co-host another show in the future. Maybe you can hop in with me and Ed at some point if we get into high school, college baseball, the College World Series, possibly somewhere around in this realm here. We'll bring you back in talking about some of the other things going on with South Carolina, North Carolina sports.
Ooh, maybe I'll get a nickname. All right.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I will add substitute CMBM host on my resume. I'll put that on there right below official Curb Rim Media driver that I said I added last year when I ran into Paul and Ranger Amy
Yeah.
at the Rome Emperor Penguins games, and wound up giving them a ride to the Atlanta airport. I said, okay, I'm putting a CMB driver on my on my resume.
Well, one last thing I didn't ask you when we started the show, which I should have, being that we are Breakfast Takes. What's your favorite breakfast cereal?
Oh, I was a Frosted Flakes or Fruit Loops guy back in the day. Apple Jacks, was that called? Was it Apple Jacks, the green one? Corn Pops, any of those things that were more cereal, but part of a balanced breakfast if you put it with all the different things in the commercial. So it's part of a balanced breakfast if you eat these 14 other things too. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, all these fruits and other things that go along with the sugary cereal. Oh man, well, thanks a lot for joining me, and everybody tune in next week. We're here every Monday morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. talking North and South Carolina sports. Also join us, although we're going to have a short staff tonight, but normally Ed and I are joined by, or actually rejoin Patrick and Virgil on Monday nights at 8:30 p.m. And we talk a lot of soccer, F1, FCS sports on there as well. That is the Break Even Sports Show, again, 8:30 p.m. Monday night. And then Tuesday nights and Thursday nights, the whole gang is together for the DHC Sports Show. We talk all the major sports. We got a lot going on with the WBC baseball, spring training, major league season getting started. So Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. As well. So again, thanks to everybody. And again, thank you, Phil, for co-hosting with me this morning. And we'll see you guys next Monday. Thanks a lot.
Bye.